DayZ can be a tough pill to swallow, and with its sink or swim design it can lead to a lot of players throwing in the towel rather quickly. But here I'll talk about the 14 reasons that drive people to quit and why they shouldn't, all while stroking this hairless cat. If you like the video, please leave a like or a subscribe, it really helps me out. But without further ado, let's get into the video.
Have you been watching The Walking Dead again?
Come on, Carl. You know me better than that.
So, yes.
The first and one of the most important reasons is they don't know what DayZ is. DayZ may be one of the most misunderstood games in gaming history. With its many online movies, streams and kill cams, players are drawn in by what they see. Neatly edited shots, cool scripted encounters, blood pumping adventures and the dramatic music that whistles in the background of an epic battle. But this isn't DayZ. Well, it is, but it's only a part of it. It's a good part of it, and I enjoy the occasional DayZ movie myself, but a lot of these videos don't show the actual gameplay most of us will come to experience in our everyday stories, because that would probably be dull for a spectator if they were to make a movie about it. Yes, there's incredible adventures to be had, and yes, there's epic battles to be fought, but the majority of the time you'll be faced with a more personal experience. This has a much heavier focus on survival and scavenging, with a pinch of unparalleled insanity. This is one of the reasons I don't fill my videos with countless kills, because I want a more balanced view. Which segues into the next reason they quit. DayZ is unforgiving with its survival mechanics. This game has some of the most brutal, no holds barred survival mechanics out there. You thought you were just gonna run around and loot? Think again. You've got a disease and you're going to need a real life medical degree in screw you to survive it. It also has weather conditions that could freeze the balls off a penguin, and that's not to mention the dozens upon dozens of unique features that make survival a luxury rather than a standard. But here's the kicker. The brutal realism is what makes every decision a life or death choice. It creates organic challenges and environmental obstacles for you to overcome. Next, and quickly with this one, is one of the biggest reasons. We have starvation. A lot of players hang up their gloves because of the never-ending battle with their own stomach. This is because you're perpetually one tin of cat food away from becoming a coastal explorer, and until you learn how to find your food, you're basically a Patreon of the Kate Moss diet. But another reason they quit, and something that is constantly mentioned in my comments, is the fact that DayZ has no map. Without a quick in-game map, you're basically Christopher Columbus without a compass. Or with one, I think he discovered everything accidentally. Which is exactly why most players exit. But this has the opposite effect on some players. Every hill you climb, every town, every medical facility you stumble upon becomes a moment of elation. It's like geocoaching, but instead of finding a small trinket, you find a reason to keep from throwing your ashtray at your child. Next is loneliness. DayZ can be a solitary experience sometimes, and that just isn't what many online gamers are looking for. They want the faster, more social aspect of Call of Duty or the forced interactions of Fortnite. DayZ offers all of this and more, a little slower paced, but most of the time it just gaslights you into tears. Then we have the loot system. So you search an entire village, go through every home, shed, outhouse and barn, and what do you find? A rotten apple, a pair of damaged boots, and a fresh tooth mark in your knuckle. When you eventually understand the loot system, it can be almost too easy to find exactly what you need, but as a beginner, the reward to effort ratio is just not good enough. But when players do struggle through the paucity that is the loot system and actually find the things they need, they have to deal with the next thing. The fact that they're afraid to die because they'll lose everything. The existential dread of gear fear. You've got a backpack full of loot, and the thought of losing it makes your palms sweaty, knees weak, arms heavy, and there's vomit on your sweater already. This is such a common thing that can even affect veteran players with thousands of hours to their name. But the thing is, there's always going to be more gear. You can't run out. If you die, you'll find new things, just as useful, just as fun. In DayZ, it really is the journey, and not just because the endgame at the moment is arguably one of the worst endgames out there for such an incredible build-up, second only to that one Marvel movie they threw at us. Time travel. Is there nothing it can't solve? So yeah, gear fear is real, but it's not really that big of a deal in DayZ when you stick it out. But I suppose this also leads into our next reason. It's almost as if I planned this. Another reason players walk away is because they keep dying from everything. Death is as common as rain in DayZ. It's like the Grim Reaper set up shop in Chernarus, but here's the life lesson. Each death is a brutal, unforgiving tutorial. You learn, you adapt, and you come back stronger, ready to face the Reaper head on. But it is difficult, and that's the next reason. The steep learning curve. DayZ doesn't just have a learning curve, it has a learning cliff. It's like being thrown into a deep end of a pool, but the pool is filled with sharks, and the sharks have guns, and those guns shoot grenades, and those grenades explode into more sharks. But once you climb that cliff, the view from it is unparalleled. You go from clueless wanderer to seasoned survivor, and that transformation is worth every second. Next, the infected are just too overwhelming when you're a beginner. Zombies or the infected are like that annoying friend who just won't leave you alone. They're unyielding, they're loud, they're always up in your business, and they smell a little bit of used prophylactics. And being swarmed by a pod of undead who smack you around so much you think you're dating an NFL player can be disheartening. They just don't stop chasing you. But conquering this challenge is like earning a badge of honor. It's you versus the horde, and once you get a few hours behind you, the infected a little more than a nuisance. But moving on, we have the grinding. Let's talk about the grind. DayZ is like a second job sometimes, but instead of money and under appreciation, you're paid in bullets and canned food. Collecting resources, building bases, maintaining gear, it's exhausting and it's also unrelenting. And many players just give up and exit never to return. But this grind is what makes your base feel like a home. It's what makes your gear feel like treasure and your character feel like an extension of yourself. Everything you do in DayZ is hard earned, but it's the struggle that pushes the stronger will to fall deeper in love with it. Next, we have time commitment. Time is of the essence, and DayZ demands a lot of it. It's not a game you can just pick up and play for 15 minutes because, well, nothing would happen. Players can be far and few between. Gearing up is usually slow but calculated. Finding a car can take hours, fixing it up can take double that, and the time these take can be increased tenfold for newer players. But that time investment is what makes every achievement feel monumental. It doesn't hand you things, you take them. It's like a long-term relationship, and like any good relationship, the more you invest, the more you get out of it. Okay, she's left the room. What I meant to say was, it's like a long-term relationship. The more you put up with it, the more you nail it. Then we have the obvious. There's just too much stress. It can be an emotionally fueled roller coaster if the roller coaster was in one of those budget parks where the highs are high, the lows are lows, and sometimes you just get stuck in a loop. But that's what makes DayZ more than just a game. It's an emotional journey. It's like being the star of your own survival series where the script is written in real time and the stakes are your life or your sanity. There's so much to balance, remember, do, think of. It can be a drain on a lot of players, and although most players get that first moment they never forget that keeps them playing, some sadly never make it. And that's because of the biggest reason we have on the list. They just don't give it a chance. But if you're one of the ones who did, then click here to learn over 200 need to know tips and tricks, or click here for something else. And as always, until next time.